So now we have worked our way to the midpoint of this course, and we are, in fact, entering into week 4. Week 4 is an important part of this 8-week class because it's the center point, what we would call midterm for us. So that means that you do have a midterm exam due this week, but I'll give you till the end of week 5 to complete it. This chapter that we read in the Mexicanos text deals with the period of time between 1900 and 1930, and a particular period of immigration known as the Great Migration. And this Great Migration period tracks the overwhelming influx of Mexican immigrants who were coming into the U.S. primarily to work and contribute to society and help build the railroads and pick cotton and other various agricultural jobs they would do. So pay attention there. A little bit of discussion inside the text of how Mexicans were viewed, how they were treated, how they were looked down upon, how they were viewed as subservient, how they were viewed as inferior to whites, but also viewed as kind of this endless wealth of cheap labor. So keep those ideas in mind as you read through the chapter, because that will pertain directly to the discussion for this week, where you will look at one particular line from the text where Gonzalez talks about the cheap labor aspect and the subservience to whites idea that was sort of a universally held belief. So take a look at that part of the text and pay attention, because what you'll formulate in your discussion is, if you can say by your observations, is that still a universally held belief? Do we still see any remnant, any residue of that thinking and that thought process? Have we overcome? Have we changed as a nation? Or do certain jobs still seem to be, that's, jobs they'll do that no one else will do? And so that's why Mexican Americans rather are, often seen working in agriculture, landscaping, janitorial positions. And again, there's nothing wrong with those jobs. But is that still kind of a representation of this universally held belief that, Mexican Americans are subservient? If it is, talk it out. Let's wrestle with this idea and confront it head on and see where we end up, where we are as a nation today. And I know that even given the current state of affairs in the United States, there are a lot of mitigating factors to what's going on with immigration and our borders, and walls being built, bans on immigration, bans on travel from certain countries. And so we're at an interesting point of conjecture in American society. So this conversation should also be fresh and poignant and related to what's going on in the world today. So all I ask is that you be civil. Let's not slam or trash anyone, or leaders, or whether you like them or not. We'll still be respectful. We're very free to be critical of ideas, and we're very free to be critical of things that we disagree with, but we have to give good rationale to why we disagree. Where we can attack ideas, but we don't attack people, not groups of people, and not individuals. It's just not something that we want to do as scholars and thinkers and students of the humanities. So you're also going to read a chapter from the En aquel entonces text, and that particular text is that short. It's a short chapter. It's really not very long. So if I were writing a critical analysis, I would write one over this one because it's not very long, and would make for a easier essay to construct. But he looks at the differences really between Catholicism as a Mexican and Mexican American religion, and in relationship to Catholicism being a European religion. So he talks about how the development of that religion kind of developed along a different set of terms and a different set of lines and authority, and he looks at how it was in Texas as well as New Mexico, and then he gives a brief analysis. And it's, if you like the study of religion, which I do, so my bachelor's degree is actually in the study of religion, and one of my master's degrees is in theology. But in my bachelor's program, I actually took a course on Mexican American religion, or Latino religion rather, and it's very sociological. We're looking at it from a very sociological perspective in that regard, and so this text, this piece of literature by Pulido, it follows along those kind of lines. Very sociological in that it looks at it as a phenomenon within society and studies how it's structured, and studies how it develops, and and elements of leadership and things like that. So, and yes, again, we are right. So at a point where you can write a critical analysis, and I recommend perhaps writing over the Pulido text, and we have a discussion. You do have a week 4 quiz, and you also have the midterm exam. Now, one important submission that is due during this 4th week is your location selection, where you intend to go for your cultural visit. If you click on the link on the left side of your Blackboard page that says cultural visit, you will find an explanation of the visit that where you may go, where you may attend, possible locations. There are some options for visiting some museums. A lot of these places are not perhaps in East Texas, but I do try to kind of identify some places of worship that are Spanish-speaking or hold Spanish-speaking services in the Mount Pleasant area. But really, if you can at all venture out to Dallas, I would say, I know it's a long drive, but when I got my job teaching for Northeast Texas Community College, I drove from West Fort Worth all the way to the campus so that I could meet my employers, because I only teach online. So it's a long drive, I know, I understand, but if it matters, you do it, and so I think this might be a case where it could matter, and that it would be a benefit to you to maybe venture into Dallas and look something up, maybe with the Dallas Mexican American Historical League, or the Latino Cultural Center of Dallas, or the Museum of the Americas out here in Weatherford, Texas. I'm filming this in Weatherford, Texas right now. Anyway, so Meadows Museum at SMU has some Spanish art, and so maybe, if you can make it to Dallas, SMU is not too far, and then there's often exhibits that are strictly or particularly going to be related to Latino art that you may find at the Dallas Museum of Art, or just depends. So there's a great website that I highly recommend for events in the arts and the humanities called artandseek.org, and you may hear that advertised on NPR. It's part of the public broadcasting sort of push to promote the public arts as well. So artandseek.org. I can't guarantee that you'll find something on there related to our course, but you may, so check it out. And so that submission is due. All you're going to do in that submission is just say, I plan on going. So it's just kind of like you setting a goal of where you intend to go. It can change. I'm okay with that. But it needs to be that you put some thought into it and you kind of make a decision and resolve, this is where I'm going to go. That means doing a little bit of research to find out what is available, what is out there. So this puts us at the week 4, the midpoint, the midterm, as it were. And so from here forward, we will be kind of on the descent as we move towards the end of the class. So I look forward to reading your cultural, where you plan to go for your cultural visit, your discussions. I look forward to any critical analysis that you submit in this time period. So do good work, and I'll say this, the midterm exam is really just the questions from the quizzes. So if you did well on the quizzes, don't stress about the exam. It'll be fine. Okay,